They were told it was safe as houses, government stimulus work that would get small builders and sole tradespeople back on their feet during the financial crisis. When the federal government unveiled its Building the Education Revolution, it handed over billions of taxpayer dollars to the state government, but it needed someone to manage it all. Enter the project management companies. Lured in by handsome management fees and lucrative profits to be made off the back of government work, construction giants like Bovis Lendlease moved in. But somehow, under its management, small builders like Project Kendall went bust. So how did it go wrong, and who is responsible? Caro Meldrum-Hanna has part 2 of this investigation.
Providing work for tradies, sparkies, chippies, builders right across the Australian economy.
It all sounded great in theory. The Building the Education Revolution would rescue small builders and subcontractors from the jaws of the financial crisis.
You ready? 1, 2, 3, up we come.
Hey! The New South Wales government decided to hand over responsibility to a select group of project managers. Industry heavyweight Bovis Lendlease was one of them, winning hundreds of BER projects to project manage and tender out to small builders, like this man. Did you have any reservations about tendering for government's stimulus work? You hadn't done any government work before.
No.
Up until 2009, Aaron Kendall, director of small building company Project Kendall, had made his living working the high-end residential sector. But when the financial crisis hit, his main source of income dried up. One of his senior staff members came to him with a lifeline.
And he mentioned that he had a brother in Bovis who was, managing and working on projects in the BER, and they were looking for builders in the building trade. That's how these things happen. It's a referral, basically.
That referral led to Bovis Lendlease awarding Project Kendall 7 BER jobs, worth around $8 million. But it all went drastically wrong. How much were you owed?
At the end of the day, we owed just over $1 million.
Just under $300,000, $285,000.
I've lost my financial situation and my livelihood. I can't even build anymore.
The whole thing was a giant labour hire pyramid subcontracting scheme, right? Now, Project Kendall took the job on without they didn't know what they were doing.
What could Bovis Lendlease have done to remedy the situation before you collapsed?
Variations that came along, they could have approved them and they could have paid for them. And if they did that, the cash flow would have been there.
Over the course of 2010, all of that adding up was taking away from Project Kendall's ability to survive. But Bovis Lendlease continued to push harder than ever.
Demanding answers for why things are done and pushing for timelines and pushing for, subcontractors to produce things that in a time frame that suited them.
Was unreasonable.
Unreasonable.
Well, subcontractors are highly critical of Project Kendall. They're highly critical of you.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure they are.
And they've shown me invoice after invoice after invoice stacking up where they weren't paid.
Mm.
And they want to know why.
Well, basically it's the nature of the business. We'd be allowed to invoice on the 15th of the month, and then that money would come through on the 30th of the following month.
In a desperate bid to try and stem the growing debts and pay his subcontractors, Aaron Kendall turned to Bovis Lendlease for help. 730 has obtained this internal email sent at the end of August 2010.
I am writing to request that Bovis Lendlease may consider shortening the payment cycle from 45 days to 30 days.
Bovis Lendlease agreed, but not for long.
They said that they weren't going to EFT our money anymore. They were going to give us a cheque, and only if they saw fit they'd hand the cheque over to us.
Bovis Lendlease basically was coming to site, picking on the smallest things to defect, just doing whatever he could to slow down the job.
Come November 2010, the walls were falling down around Project Kendall. The next progress payment was still weeks away. Project Kendall couldn't hold on any longer. But its subcontractors had no idea everything was about to collapse.
The thing that really I despised was the Friday before we were told that Project Kendall went to administration, Bovis and Project Kendall were pushing us to finish all the work on site. So basically, number one, Bovis will get the final product before the contractors walked off site. They knew we weren't getting paid. They knew that Kendall was going to go under.
I told them several times. Every time I told the Bovis
correct.
representative on site. It's definitely a lot of money, but no one seems to care about it. So
This man does.
yeah, mate. Good.
Andrew Quirk is the New South Wales construction organiser for the CFMEU. He's now calling for an independent inquiry into Bovis Lendlease.
I think it would uncover some of the most shoddy and appalling and second-rate due diligence that's ever been done in the building industry, and believe you or me, I've seen some shoddy things done in this industry.
730 has made its own discoveries. Under government tendering rules, before Bovis Lendlease could award any BER projects to tendering companies, it had to run full financial checks, or due diligence, on the shortlisted applicants for every job.
Well, we basically had to tell them what we owed, what we had revenue, and where we were. Our balance sheets.
The year prior, you had a turnover, as I understand it, of around $800,000.
I was a bit higher than that. It was closer to $1 million, yeah.
But you'd never turned over year after year $1 million year after year.
No, we'd grown steadily to that point.
But somehow, Bovis Lendlease came to a completely different figure altogether. 730 has obtained these internal tender documents, records of interviews and assessments of Project Kendall, conducted by senior Bovis Lendlease staff prior to the awarding of BER projects.
Subcontractor interview checklist. Tenderer, Project Kendall, average annual turnover for the last 3 years, $3 million per year.
730 has also obtained a copy of the administrator's report, completed by Worrell Solvency and Forensic Accountants.
Our preliminary investigation suggests that the company may have been insolvent from at least July 2010 and possibly earlier. Adequate trading budget and cash budgets? No. Preparation of quarterly financial statements? No. Income tax returns for the financial year end 30th of June 2009 and 30th of June 2010 have not been lodged.
If you missed out the fact that the company that you're doing the financial checks in hadn't returned tax, hadn't done a tax return for 2 years, don't give me diligent. That's not just laughing at the taxpayer, that's spitting at the taxpayer.
730 asked Bovis Lendlease for a copy of the financial assessments done on Project Kendall. 730's request was denied. Instead, Bovis Lendlease provided this response.
Our due diligence includes a comprehensive subcontractor pre-qualification process. This due diligence process was followed before the appointment of Project Kendall. This process involves independent financial assessments and evaluating criteria such as experience and capacity to deliver the required works.
They didn't pressure us to produce any sort of portfolio of work that was the same as what we had done. We told them we were a small business. We actually asked if we could separate the packages. They were letting 3 schools at a time. And I said, is there any way we can do 1 or 2? And they said, no, that's a package or nothing.
That was just crazy. That was basically, Bovis was setting up the project for failure from day one.
What would be in it for them to do that?
Well, at the end of the day, you get a contractor, he comes in cheap, you get him cheap, he falls over, you hold retention, you hold his payments back, he goes, you get another builder in, you basically get him to finish it off, and you end up making more money.
Everyone made money except the people who were doing the work, and that was us. And I find that really unfair.
With so much financial misery laid bare, the question now is how much did Bovis Lendlease actually profit off the back of Project Kendall's demise? Bovis Lendlease has again refused 730's repeated requests for an interview. Searching for answers, 730 put this list of questions to Bovis Lendlease. Their response?
We are not able to respond to this due to issues of privacy and confidentiality.
While Bovis Lendlease sits behind the shield of commercial confidentiality, small businesses like Project Kendall were left with no protection. You've received death threats?
I've received a lot of threats and a lot of people angry, missing money and put the blame on me. I'm now financially ruined because of Bovis Lendlease. I get a sick feeling in my stomach when I see their signs.
With ASIC refusing to investigate and the administrator's investigation into Project Kendall now complete, All eyes are now firmly trained on the BER's builder and its apprentice.
Lend-Lease wants this swept under the carpet. The federal government seems to want to. It's got me stuffed as why the federal government is not looking at this with Lend-Lease. How it got to this is beyond me, you know. All in defence of Bovis Lend-Lease. It's almost infantile.